Welcome to the ONS podcast with your host, Linnea Jacobson.
Welcome back, you guys, to our second episode of our ONS podcast. Just in case you missed the first one, ONS stands for Office of Neighborhood Safety. I'm your host, Linnea Jacobson, and I am a member of the ONS team. We are excited to be creating this platform for departments like us and community organizations to come on and talk about our services. All of our episodes are about connecting you to alternative public safety measures, programs, and your local growth and healing opportunities. St. Paul citizens are out here working really hard to heal, rehabilitate, intervene, and build safer neighborhoods. Today, we will be introducing the Neighborhood Safety Community Council, better known as the NSCC. I am really excited to be here with a part of my team. The hat I wear at Office of Neighborhood Safety is the NSCC manager, and one of the things I am charged with is working with a appointed group of amazing community members to come up with innovative ideas and programs that prevent crime. I am a proud St. Paul, born and raised native who grew up in Frogtown but spent many weekends on the Rondo side of University Avenue, eating Sunday dinners at my grandma's and my great-aunt Della's house. Not to mention running around with my friends. I have a bachelor's degree from Metro State University, majoring in ethics and equal opportunities and politics and criminal justice. I've spent all my career working in public safety administrative assignments and spend my off time volunteering in political arenas that have an impact on community. I'm raising a husband and 2 young men. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I did say raising a husband. That was not a mistake. My personality is like my favorite color, very pink, and I love sparkly things. I also love reality TV, don't judge me, Italian food, and almost everything that includes rice. With that being said, and with me today, I have the NSCC Interim Chair Diane Levendusky, who has a bachelor's and a master's in social work from the University of Wisconsin. She did a year abroad in Madrid, Spain, and is fluent in Spanish. She spent 30 years of her career as a probation officer serving under the United States District Court Minnesota branch. Prior to that, she was a diversion counselor for Project Remand here in St. Paul. Welcome, Diane.
Hi.
Diane, can you sum up who the newly retired Diane is in 30 seconds?
Sure. Yeah, I've been living in the Twin Cities since the 80s. I'm from Appleton, Wisconsin originally, and currently a member of ARP, if that gives away my age a bit. I'm married, have 2 children, the 2 adult children. One lives in LA, one lives in Chicago, which luckily, one of my sisters lives in each of those towns also, so that's a nice opportunity to see them when I traveled there. And I like to do a lot of physical activities. I play disc golf with a group of retired women every Wednesday, go to the YMCA a lot, do a lot of biking and hiking. And I love living in St. Paul, and I love living in the Hamlin-Midway area.
Great. So, Diane, icebreaker question. When you get home after a day of volunteering and running errands, when you go to the refrigerator, what's the first thing you grab to drink?
Probably a cold glass of water. I have a nice little water cooler thing in my refrigerator, so the cold water tastes super good.
Okay. Out of the 2, and you have to pick one, do you prefer Quick and Bake Pillsbury chocolate chip galletas, that's cookies, you guys, in Spanish, or Quick Bake Nestle Toll House cookies?
Oh, I guess I would have to say Nestle's Toll House.
Okay. And last question, Dateline or 2020?
Oh, and I guess I'm not familiar with either of them that much, so I guess I'll just say neither.
Oh, my goodness. Don't judge her, ladies and gentlemen. Here with us, we also have NSCC Councilmember Coral Garner. Coral is a graduate of University of Alabama, Birmingham, with a master's in Hospital and Health Services Administration. Before moving to Minnesota, she was a clinical administrator for Birmingham Health Care for the Homeless and Alabama's Jefferson County Health. In 1996, she landed in St. Paul and started making a name for herself, landing positions in healthcare, which includes clinic manager, project director, director of adolescent health and youth development, and director of maternal, child, and adolescent health for large organizations such as Fairview Hospital and the City of Minneapolis Health Department. Welcome, Coral.
Hello.
Coral, tell us who Coral is outside of the NSCC.
Well, I am retired as of 2021, so retired during the pandemic. I have 2 adult girls who just recently bought a home in Roseville, so I'm happy about that. And I never learned how to use my downtime, so I'm not a gardener. I do like to walk my dog, so I guess that is my recreational activity. But I'm a workaholic, so I still have multiple part-time jobs even though I'm retired. So I guess I can say I'm semi-retired.
You do a lot of volunteer work too, don't you?
I do a lot of volunteer work.
Yeah. Do you have any grandkids?
No, we're still looking for husbands.
Oh.
So if there are any single men out there, I have 2 eligible daughters.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. So I can't ask you that question because my question was going to be, if you have grandkids, how many days do you keep them before asking them to go home? So that question won't apply to you.
I have a grand pup, though.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. Okay.
The dog that I walk every day is actually not my dog. It's my daughter, my youngest daughter's dog. And he is so spoiled. He's just like a little human.
Yeah.
So
But he isn't little. He's huge.
Oh, really?
He is
I have
huge.
seen her walking her dog.
What kind of dog is it?
It's an American Akita.
Oh, Akitas. Yeah.
And
they're big.
he is 127 pounds. And on his hind legs,
He's taller than you?
He's taller than me. But he thinks he's a baby.
Does he like to cuddle?
He likes to cuddle.
Sweet. What color is he?
He is black and white.
Okay. So I do have an icebreaker question for you. Which one do you prefer? A visit to the dentist or a visit to the tax personnel?
A visit to the dentist.
Amen. Okay, next icebreaker. Peach cobbler or apple pie?
Oh, peach cobbler, for sure.
That's easy, hands down. Okay, last one. NBS Nightly World News with Lester Holt, who is my husband's imaginary BFF. Or wait for World News to go off and catch Care 11 at 6 o'clock.
Actually, I like Care 11.
Yeah.
It's 6 o'clock.
Okay. You don't watch Lester?
No, I do not watch Lester.
He's awesome. Okay, last but not least, I have Shyrisse Tisdle. Everyone, Miss Tisdle is a Northwestern alumni with a bachelor's in health psychology. She has spent the majority of her career in healthcare client service management, overseeing everyone and everything that involves customer relations, scheduling, project management, and problem-solving customer accounts. She spent 4 years working as a community organizer for Jewish Community Project, managing an advocacy program for senior citizens and connecting at-risk homeowners in the community with foreclosure prevention resources. And for her work with JCA, Shyrisse has received a Civic Engagement Wellstone Fellowship Award. Welcome, Shyrisse.
Thank you.
Shyrisse, tell us about yourself in 30 seconds outside of the incredible, hard-working softball mom who I'm sure just wants to go home after work, but instead you're sitting in a hot field.
And now we're sitting in a hot gym. It's volleyball season.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 kids, senior at Central. She's a volleyball player. And my son graduated in 2019. He's currently working for a construction company out in Rosemont. And that is what I do outside of work.
Okay. Icebreaker question for you, Shyrisse. When you were little, did you want to be Punky Brewster or her friend Sherry? And for those of you who were born after 1989, that was a hit television show about a rambunctious little girl and her shenanigans. Punky or Sherry?
Punky.
Why Punky?
She seemed to get in a lot of trouble and have a lot of fun.
Okay, good choice. I was a Punky fan too. Which describes you best on Saturday mornings at age 13, Shyrisse? In your PJs watching Saved by the Bell or some other fancy show on Nickelodeon because your parents could afford cable?
We probably did have cable. Not that we could afford it, but we had a cable. I was probably reading. At 13, I was probably on my face in a book.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Or doing chores.
Okay. Yeah, I was definitely watching Saved by the Bell. Last question. Tacos and margaritas or pizza and Pepsi?
Margaritas.
With the tacos or with the pizza? Or both?
With margaritas and friends.
All right. So before we get started, I just want to say that I am impressed with this group of ladies that I get to work with, and I just want to praise God for who you guys are and that He's allowing you guys to be a blessing in your communities. When I was putting this together, the agenda together, and I was looking at your resumes and stuff like that and just reminding myself of who you guys are, I was just like overly impressed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to work with these people. So first question. Tell me about your neighborhood. How long have you been there? Let's go with Diane.
So I live in the Hamlin Midway neighborhood, and when I moved to the Twin Cities, I landed there, and I've been there for 40 plus years, first as a renter and then later as a homeowner. And I love that it's such a mixture of people. A lot of people have lived there for a long, long time. Their parents had lived there, so there's a history there. But then there's a lot of newer residents like myself, even though I've been there now 40 years. And there's students there because there's a lot of colleges nearby, so that gives a lot of young energy.
And Coral, what about you? What do you love about your neighborhood? Because we know you live in Hamlin Midway too, because Diane has seen you walking your big puppy.
My dog, yes. So I've been living in Hamlin Midway since 1999, I believe. And I really love my neighborhood. I like that it's close to Hamlin University, and I can get to go to events at the college if I want to. I also like that I'm close to the light rail and can easily get to downtown St. Paul or downtown Minneapolis. I love the fact that we have a lot of coffee shops, and my favorite coffee shop is Groundswell. However, recently I've been going to Flavor a lot because it's a neat place to meet people for, like, if you have a business meeting or what have you. And then I also like the fact that we have a Black bookstore.
Oh, wow.
Garner bookstore, which is also on University, and it's a great place to network.
That's cool. I guess I didn't know that. Wow. Shyrisse, what about you?
Well, I grew up also in Frogtown, and then for like the past 13 years, we lived in Summit U neighborhood. I like it. It's very nice, very close to Jimmy Lee Rec Center and Central High School where my daughter goes, so she's able to walk, or I can give her a ride, which she prefers. I would like to see it become more community.
Okay.
People are outside, but we're not outside together.
Okay. Shyrisse, since you grew up in Frogtown, did you hang out at West Mini? Were you a West Mini girl?
Yes. I'm sure if you go inside and look in the archives, I'm in there for T-ball.
Oh, wow.
And probably other sports.
Okay, cool. All right, so tell me about what prompted you to want to be part of NSCC. Coral, let's start with you.
So it was a great opportunity to give back to my community. I was looking for things to do after I retired from the city of Minneapolis. And, I worked with young people doing youth development and teen pregnancy work for over 30 years. And during that time, I had the opportunity to meet people who were a part of Weed and Seed. I don't know if you guys remember Weed and Seed Safety Communities, but that was a federal program that they had back in the day under Chief Harrington, and I knew some people who were involved in that and admired the work that they do. So, and I assumed that the Safety Council would be similar to that work. And then I also had the opportunity to meet Ms. Brooke Blakey when she worked for Metro Transit, because we done some work with Metro Transit around community engagement and safety. So knowing that she was the director of the Office of Neighborhood Safety, I was excited to put in my application and was even more excited when I got the call.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thank you. Diane?
Yeah, like Coral, I was interested in doing something in retirement that was meaningful. And I ran into Director Blakey and you, Linnea, at the Little Africa Festival.
I remember.
One summer on Snelling. And I was so impressed with your energy and your new office and all your exciting plans and interests for the Office of Neighborhood Safety. I thought I would like to be a part of that. And I think I have some skills that would complement work there. So.
And Shyrisse, what prompted you to want to be part of the NSCC? Aside from me begging you to apply.
A little arm pulling.
Well, I actually have known Director Blakey for a while. She asked me to apply, and that was after me talking to her endlessly about what ONS is, what she's doing, what her plan is, and then wanting to be a part of that plan.
Sounds good. So Diane and Coral, you've both worked in a sector dealing with youth crime prevention before. How do you feel that work has inspired your thought process in the work we do here?
And my work wasn't specifically with youth. As a probation officer in federal court, we had very few youth. It's usually adults that go through federal court. But we did have a lot of youthful offenders. And what I found in my work is that everyone has some redeeming qualities. And just because people do bad things doesn't mean they're a bad person. There's always something there that you can latch on to and try to develop and support and try to guide people who, through no fault of their own, maybe were born into circumstances that weren't ideal, so they didn't have good role models or good supervision, or they just found themselves in circumstances with people who, again, were bad influences. And they often do things without thinking. You know, it takes a while for those brains to develop fully, and a lot of them regret a lot of the things they do. So I look at people as hopeful. People can change. People do change. And with support, I think they can choose different paths and productive paths, pro-social paths.
And Coral, how do you feel that your work, your previous work, inspires your decision-making and ideas in the NSCC?
Well, I spent my entire career working with families, especially young families. And when I worked with the city, a lot of the programming that I did was focused on teen pregnancy prevention. And we did some work around community violence, particularly as it impacts youth. And I see being a part of the council as kind of a continuation of that work. One of the things that we learned was that the most effective way really to address either teen pregnancy or youth-involved crime was to provide kids with more after-school, quality after-school programming. And so any opportunity to put more resources in the community to provide after-school programming or to work with folks who are interested in working with young adults around vocational training or job preparedness and giving young people who may not have an opportunity access to have a leg up in society so that they don't go down the wrong path or choose to go down the wrong path, I think is important work to do. And so that's why I'm committed to this work.
Shyrisse, you have not worked in youth crime prevention in the past, but you are indeed a mom of one young adult and a teenager in our current times. How do you think this impacts your work and thought process in the NSCC?
Well, as a parent, my goal is to keep them both safe. And that's a lot of what the work is that we do, is coming up with ways to keep certain sections, areas, the whole entire city basically safer than it once was. I think that the work we do on the council, we bring basically back to our own communities. So we know what goes on in our neighborhoods, and then the things that we decide on in the council will affect the way our communities continue to thrive.
Thank you. So, what do you think is the most important part about having a community council? Let's start with Shyrisse.
Well, now that the council has grown since I joined last year, we have people from West St. Paul, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now we're reaching broader range of the city. Us, the community, asked, what can we do to make the community better? And this council gives us that chance to do that.
And Coral, what do you think is the most important part about having a community council?
I think what I find most exciting about being a part of the council is having the opportunity to learn from other residents throughout the city of St. Paul and to hear their concerns, as well as things that they share that they're doing in their neighborhoods to actually promote safety, because we learn from each other. And our group is diverse, and there's also young people on our group, which I love the fact that we have young voices on our committee. And it's exciting to hear just the diverse viewpoints from the people who sit around the table.
Right, because we're all like in different neighborhoods, right? So each neighborhood has its own thing, right? So what might be going on in Hamlin Midway is different from what's going on in Summit University area, right?
Exactly.
So it's nice to get perspectives of what everybody's seeing and what everybody wants to change. And like you said, we have the young people, so it causes us to think outside of our box, things that we might be missing. Diane, what do you think is the most important part about having a community council?
Well, we're all in this together. It takes everyone in the community to solve a lot of these issues. And by having such diverse opinions and people involved in the council, I think it gives us a better shot at trying to tackle some of these really difficult issues that we're faced.
I think my favorite part, or the most important part, I think, is the community buy-in. So it's kind of like right along in lines with what you guys are saying. It's, you as the community, you might be a neighbor, or you may be a store owner, or you may be a daycare provider, or you may be a school teacher, or you may be a retiree who's been living in your home for 40-something years. But you get a chance to sit at a table and make decisions about what's going to happen in your city. And I think that that's really important, is bringing average people like us to the table to help with government decisions, right? Because another thing that the Neighborhood Safety Community Council is charged with is our Office of Neighborhood Safety does receive government funds, and the Community Council, we get to decide partially where those government funds go. Like, what programs should we put in place for our youth between ages of 12 and 24? What grassroots organizations would be good for solving this problem? So those are things that we get to take part in, and it's the community buy-in. And that's my favorite part, I feel like that's the most important part. And then that goes into the next question: what's your favorite part of what we've done so far? Does anybody want to start? I think my favorite part of what we've done so far is probably, maybe I shouldn't have agreed to start first. We're probably all going to say the same thing, but basically our Goals Not Guns campaign this spring. That was so fun. So for the audience, for those of you who don't know, we did launch a Goals Not Guns campaign, which we chose to prompt our youth, our high schoolers, to think about setting goals, lifelong goals for themselves. Like, what's next after high school? Is it college? Is it vocational school? Is it learning a trade? Is it becoming a mom? Is it moving up in politics? We wanted our high schoolers to set goals for themselves and create some sort of message to put the guns down, basically. There's so much crime right now with teenagers just using guns and hurting each other, and we want our youth to value life and to set goals for themselves and to not focus on violence. And that was probably my favorite campaign. We did a t-shirt contest. We launched it at Face to Face Academy. They did some incredible artwork. It was just really fun. The mayor came out and addressed the celebration. It was just awesome. Coral, what was your favorite part?
I think my favorite activity was being able to serve on the St. Paul Public Library's safety planning committee as a representative of the Neighborhood Safety Council. We met over a series of several months, coming up with strategies on how to really improve customer service and identify resources that could be used not only to make the libraries a safe space, but also to make it a welcoming and inclusive space, knowing that there are folks who use the library because that's the only public resource that they have during the day, such as a homeless population. And so making sure that there are social workers and other resources that are available in the library that people could access. So that was a real eye-opener for me to do that. And as a part of that, I actually encouraged my sorority to do a youth leadership program in Rondo Library this
Love
past
it.
school year. So that was a great partnership that just came out of that one connection of
That
being
is
a part of that,
awesome.
of their safety planning committee. So.
I love it. I love it. Diane.
I was part of a event that was organized by Hired, which is a program that we contracted with, and World Youth Connect. So the two groups together led an event which was based on having a meaningful conversation. And it started with a meal, which is always nice. People like to eat together. So everyone got some good food. And then Mayor Carter's dad actually presented this video that he had put together of these 4 men who had been incarcerated for murder, all of them real different circumstances, varying sentences that they've had. And they spoke from their perspective about the harm that not only that they caused to the community and to the victims, but to themselves and their families. It was very powerful and moving. And then we broke up into circles and had a conversation where everyone had to speak. You could pass if you wanted, but everyone had the opportunity to speak. And the question was just, what are we going to do about this youth violence? And it was powerful. Linnea, I know you were in my group also, and it was so powerful. There were people that were judges, youth, people that had been affected directly by violence, family members who were killed, and just the variety of responses was just so moving, so powerful, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, that was a really great event. Shout out to Hired. As Diane mentioned, they were one of the contractees for gun violence prevention that Neighborhood Safety Community Council decided to fund. Shyrisse, what is your favorite thing that we've done so far?
I really did enjoy the t-shirt contest. I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah.
But really getting to see like Hired and World Youth Connect working together. You don't know World Youth Connect, they're a very powerful group because they're youth. It's youth-led. So I think that even though we gave it out to Hired, I think them bringing in World Youth Connect was probably the best idea, because I'm seeing more now that young people talking to young people are really going to make the changes that we need to see.
Exactly.
And so us being a support system to them, funding things for them to take part in, the t-shirt contest, I mean, I'm curious to see how many t-shirts are worn throughout this school year coming, and then what new schools come on board when we do the contest again.
Diane, what is your number one desire for improving the communities within St. Paul?
I guess it would have to be people feeling and being safer in St. Paul. There's a lot of crime out there, and especially the violent crime is what concerns me. We had a neighbor who was walking his dog, and he was robbed with a gun, and he was a middle schooler. It was so sad, and to think that you can't walk your dog in the neighborhood without feeling safe. So that's the main thing, I think.
Coral, what's your number one desire for improving the communities within St. Paul?
My hope is that we can communicate more with each other. And when I say that, I'm thinking about our work with the Neighborhood Safety Council and how we can better connect with other neighborhood associations, other civic groups, or faith-based organizations or agencies within St. Paul, and align the work as opposed to everyone just doing their own thing. Because I think everyone's concerned about safety, but how can we collectively address the issues within all of the communities and be more collaborative?
And Shyrisse, what is your number one desire for improving the communities within St. Paul?
Definitely safety, but I would love to see the communities come back to being more villages. Like, we know who's on the block, you know who's around, you say hi more to your neighbors. I know COVID kind of shut us in, but it's time to open those doors again, get to know people. You know, it's unfortunate what happened to your neighbor. I mean, especially as a young person, it's really tough. But if more people are outside, seeing things, talking to each other, hopefully those things will come down.
I think for me, my desire for improving the communities is I want our kids to thrive. Office of Neighborhood Safety did a pilot with World Youth Connect, and we did like some surveying of our youth and when do they feel safe and when do they feel unsafe. And one of the big things that kept coming back was they feel unsafe when riding public transportation. Sometimes they feel unsafe after a certain hour in the evening. Sometimes they stay inside on the weekends just to avoid confrontation and conflict. And I want our kids to be okay. Kids should not have to worry about trouble. They should not have to worry about feeling unsafe. They should not have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from and where they're going to sleep at night. These are all like things that we as adults were put here on earth to take care of for the kids that we're bringing up, right? Mm-hmm. So I want our kids to be okay. I think that as long as our kids are okay and they feel that they have stability and they have structure and they have safety, a lot of the things that we're trying to prevent in St. Paul from happening will subside. So that's like my number one desire for the city of St. Paul. Last questions. What are your goals for the NSCC? Diane, let's go.
Certainly supporting the Office of Neighborhood Safety, which is ever growing. It's so exciting. It keeps delving into more and more issues, and they are an important program. It's nice to have alternatives. We need them. And supporting groups that will work with youth in combating violence is what I think is most important for us, and for us to continue to receive input from the community about what are the real issues that people are dealing with, people and businesses and agencies.
Coral, what's your goals?
I hope that through the matrix that we've developed and the data that's being collected on the current contracts that we have with the funding that we've distributed, that we'll be able to really demonstrate that we're making a difference. And because we're making a difference, then that would allow our elected officials to think seriously about the Office of Neighborhood Safety and how they might support that program in the long haul, mm-hmm. and what's needed to support it in the long haul. And if our role is to go down to City Hall and say we think this is the right thing to do, or however we can be of help to the office, that's what I want to be a part of.
Go Coral. Go Coral.
I think we'll all join you down there at City Hall.
Shyrisse, what are your goals?
I think we're doing really good work.
Yeah.
I think that over time, as we, like Coral said, gather other neighborhood groups, get us all on a one page, striving towards the same goal, which is that safety for all of us, our kids, us as adults, our parents. You know, my parents they live in the Summit U neighborhood as well. You guys are parents, so we want to make sure that we're all just safe and we have those thriving communities. My goal is that the council helps to make that possible.
Thank you, Shyrisse. So I think my goal is for us to have a stronger relationship and a bigger presence in the school systems. I think that we all can agree, especially after the community conversations that we've done with principals and healthcare providers, is that a lot of the change that we're trying to make is going to come with changing what our kids, what our youth are dealing with and their perspectives of life. And I think that in order to do that, we have to stop ignoring that this is an epidemic. Gun violence is an epidemic, and we need to have education around it. And schools are education. We need our schools to come on board and agree, hey, we should have education around mental health and stability and gun violence prevention and conflict resolution so that we can build better and strong adults. And I think that's where the Neighborhood Safety Community Council can be a strong influence on, is providing the programs that we've been looking into and talking about that's going to impact our youth and make them feel better and do better for themselves. So that is it for episode 2. This podcast, again, is about being able to connect with you and alternative public safety matters, programs, and your local growth and healing opportunities. If you'd like to learn more about Community First Public Safety, please visit information.stpaul.gov, and that's St. Paul, STPAUL.gov. And for more information about the Office of Neighborhood Safety or joining the NSCC, you can check us out at www.stpaul.gov/departments/neighborhood/safety. Thank you.